Hey folks, it's Chad Duplantis with my good friends, Doctors Jennifer Bell and Dr. Jeff Horowitz, and we're with Dentist in the Know, and we have a fantastic guest for you today, Dr. Tanya Maestas. Tanya.
That's right.
I keep wanting to say Tanya. I don't know, Tanya Tucker. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
Tanya
if you're a
Tucker,
country
yeah.
fan,
Yeah,
Tanya
that's right.
Tucker.
If she
Tanya
moves to
Tucker.
South
it's-
Carolina, you're right.
That'll be
It's
Tanya.
not
Yeah,
Tanya.
it's Tanya.
It's Tanya.
Yeah.
That's right. You call me what you'd
Maestas.
like.
And she is living in El Paso, but she works in public health and in New Mexico, and she works at the dental school in El Paso. So she is a jack of all dental trades. A couple weeks ago, I was on Tanya's podcast. Well, I was on a podcast that she hosted. Her podcast is New Dentist on the Block. She was hosting for a friend, the Dental Fuel podcast, but she's also a member and a good friend of our good friend, Dr. David Rice, and a member of his Ignite DDS group. So, Tanya, it's great to have you here.
Pumped to be with DINKS.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, super pumped. Been
You're-
looking forward to this.
Your podcast was so fun, and
Yeah.
the podcast you hosted, because I know yours is New Dentists on the Block, but the
Which
podcast you hosted was
Jeff
so much
is
fun.
not.
Jeff is not, nor am I. And you know what?
I'm not. I'm
Nor
not.
is
I
she.
want to be.
Yeah.
Now, Tanya is a new
How
dentist
many
on the
dentists?
block.
Yeah. We all
So-
once were, though, right?
We all
yeah.
were.
But what I really want to talk about is because I know that there's a need. First of all, when did you graduate from dental school?
Yeah, I graduated in 2018. I
Okay,
did
so
it.
that's 5 years. You're
Yeah.
almost not new.
No,
Almost
that's under
not.
10
Almost
years
not
of
new.
practice. Come on, that's the
What-
technical
What
definition.
prompted you? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I should say, what was the impetus
Mm.
that sent you
Right, not
into
impetus.
public health or community dentistry?
Yeah, growing up in El Paso, Texas, you see a lot of people across the border to get dental care. And many, many people, as we know, across the nation that don't have the means to see somebody. So I knew I wanted to go back to an area like El Paso and some pockets that people don't really have care. So before I started dental school, I looked up different scholarships, and I found a scholarship that would pay for my schooling in return for some service in an underserved area. So the National Health Service Corps paid for my schooling, and now I just finished my time back in where I need to be in public health, but I'll probably say a little bit longer. Because that's the community that I'd like to serve, just giving back.
Yeah.
Now, there is, if I recall, a specialty through dentistry for community health. Is that correct?
There's
Public health?
There's public health. So I'm doing finishing up a residency. It was a dual NPH program with a dental public health certificate.
Okay.
So at the end of it, I will have that specialty.
And how long is that program?
It was 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's the application for that specialty? Where do
that
we
was my
see
question.
you in
Yeah.
the community? Are you running community health centers?
I could.
Are you?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
could
generally
do
what-
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that for me, what I could see myself doing is long term, I'd like to be in education, being that I'm at the dental school half a day a week, but I'd like to do that more long term and facilitate some of the partnerships between the dental school and community clinics.
Yeah.
That's
Very
kind of
cool.
where I'd like to see myself.
Because it really seems to me that that's where the problem is. I mean, all of us, like to, do a lot for the community, but logistically, that's where it's always hard. Is like, how do you make these programs work from a logistical standpoint? I mean, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Who's going to sponsor it? How do we find the people that need the care?
Right.
Who screens them? And so there's so much more to this. So kind of where do you begin when you say, okay, I've identified a community of people who I think need help? Where do you go? If I'm a general dentist and I say, oh my gosh, there's this whole community that needs help, I can't do it through my practice. I can have a dental day in my office and do something nice, but I would assume we reach out to someone like you, or
Potentially.
What are the resources for us?
Well, being that we're at the ADA, I think that the biggest resource that we have in our profession is advocacy, right? Advocating for programs to increase funding for programs that I did through the National Health Service Corps, and increasing federally qualified health centers, community health centers in these communities that need the help. There's also different programs that the ADA have to help connect patients in the community with a dental home that could be helpful as well. But it's hard. You're right. It's hard. When you get really rural, it's harder to get dentists out there, just because it's way out there. People don't want to live in the boonies. But
Right.
that's why I commute. I travel 45 minutes. I don't want to live in the boonies either. But it's nice to live back home, where I'm from.
So, what type of services do you provide at your clinic? Because I know that a lot of them are Medicaid extract, find somewhere else. Some are just fillings. there's a local clinic in our area that does everything,
Mhm.
which is unique and it's free.
Yeah.
What are the services at your clinic, and how are the patients qualified, I guess?
Yeah, we're able to provide everything. We don't place implants. We do a ton of extractions, lots of removable. I'm able to restore implants if they get in place with one of our local periodontists. Restorative. But
That's awesome.
yeah. We have specialists that help out our patients as well too. Our oral surgeons in the community, they'll take Medicare, Medicaid, which is great. So
That's
if I don't want to
Yeah.
tackle an extraction that I'm not comfortable with, I'll just send them that way. We have a periodontist that'll offer our patients half off. So it's great. So I can continue building my skill as a restorative dentist and restoring those implants or whatever they get placed. What else did you ask? You asked something.
You answered what I asked.
I think
So yeah, we're good.
what
Yeah.
dawns on me, and I think would be lost opportunity not to talk about, is you had mentioned earlier about the super dentist. You know, a dentist that gets comfortable in a wide variety of procedures, surgical, restorative, etc. I think public health is an excellent residency for that type of exploration, because in many rural communities, you are the last stop.
Yeah,
There
that's
isn't
true.
a pediatric dentist for an hour. There isn't a prosthodontist for an hour away. And so I do think if doctors are looking to really expand their skill set and sort of be forced and pushed into an environment where they have to learn to be competent in those procedures, public health could be a good
For sure.
arena for
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Two things on that. Like you and I spoke about, I'm not your endo girl.
Yeah.
You know, I
No.
don't like it. Doesn't bring me joy.
Endo hater sisters here.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll try to refer when I can, especially if it's
I think
molar
we're an
and-
anti-endo team,
Yeah,
aren't
I'm
we?
right there with
yeah.
you. I'll
yeah,
try
we-
and do anterior, but when molars come up,
I know.
I just don't. I don't feel comfortable with it. So, you
It's
know,
like your
sometimes
spirit animal.
right,
Yeah.
You know?
right.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, you know, we extract a ton, sadly, but sometimes that's what we can do.
Yeah.
But to your point about being a residency, I think it's an excellent option. You know, if you look for loan repayment programs, this is a great way to bring some of that loan amount down, but also build on
And
your skills.
that's huge right now, because so many of the students that are coming out with $400,000-$500,000 in
Yeah.
debt, which really is, you know, trying to buy
insanity.
a house. It's just really insurmountable.
Right.
So, you know, to have that kind of an outlet, I think that's something that needs to be said about this,
Absolutely.
you know, about this public health forum or residency, that, you know, not only can you learn a lot of these great skills that will allow you to get on the path to becoming a super dentist, but that you can offset a lot of the cost of your education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to start. You can make it a lifelong career if you choose to do so, but it's a great way to learn and build your skill. And if you want to take your skills elsewhere after that, you're welcome to do that. Yeah. You're going to do a lot of good if you spend even just a few years in public health.
Let's talk about new dentists on the block.
Yeah.
All right. Who do you have on? What do you talk about? What's the whole?
We have everyone on.
Yes.
First of all, can you
Initially,
dance and sing at the same time?
in the
Can
me.
yeah,
for sure.
Like, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Like new kids on the block.
I like
the
New Kids on the Block.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
It is a play
old
on
people
words.
reference.
Yes,
Sorry.
no,
Kinda like-
it is a play on
She
words
doesn't
because of
even-
that.
She's got the right stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
It was a play on words because of
Yes,
New Kids on the
I
Block.
figured.
It was for new dentists, and we feature new dentists, but we have had seasoned dentists on there. They share their story.
Did you
about
notice
being-
how she looked at us? We've had seasons.
No, like literally there was a three-way head
old
turn
dentist,
We were
yeah.
to the
trying
right.
to do live Botox
Yeah.
on
We've
you,
had
so I mean, I
seasoned.
think we've
Yeah,
established the
everyone
seal.
went 90 degrees right on that
Well,
one.
we started with Bob McNeil, who we know is from Between Two Teeth, and he was adamant about being on the podcast. And so that set a precedent that we would welcome everyone.
Oh,
But
that
we
was
know
very
that he
nice.
is seasoned and of
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
But it's a fun podcast, you know, as you all know, it's fun to do. It's a little passion project. And I love meeting and reconnecting with new dentists that I've met before and sharing their story.
What is some of the struggles that you're seeing, and what are some of the topics that seem to keep coming up for new
That
dentists?
is huge. We
Yeah.
know that. Finding the right place of practice, you know, finding that place where they feel home and feel comfortable that they can practice, buying into a practice. DSOs is always a big conversation, whether it's the right step to take or not. Many people aren't happy in DSOs, and some people are. So they're not one size fits all, but I think that there are a lot of challenges for the new dentist, and it's great to see how different people are coming out and they're experiencing these challenges and how they're mitigating them.
Yeah.
What's really cool about this is, you know, like some of the best, you know, most talented dentists I know have come out of rural areas like in Alaska,
Yeah.
you know, totally underserved. And so I think it goes even beyond residency, you know, of learning all these different disciplines, but then having to actually do it and being put on the spot where like, oh gosh, I don't have a specialist for 300 miles.
Yeah.
And just, learning and getting that experience, then I know a lot of them have eventually relocated, but it's almost like an extended residency.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
not only are, your bills getting paid back for you, you're serving a community
Right.
that absolutely needs you. Maybe someone comes in behind you and fills that void and does the same thing. And then these dentists have the opportunity to really go wherever with a skill set that a lot of general dentists don't come out with.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
true. Very true. Yeah.
Well, how have you enjoyed the meeting so far?
Oh, it's great.
And
Love
you're
it.
here doing some legislative work as well,
A little bit. I'm not a delegate, but I'm
Okay.
here, enjoying the meeting and helping out a little bit with
campaigning a little.
Campaigning a little,
Campaigning
yeah. I don't know when this is going to come out, and there's a lot of things we can't promote and a lot
No,
of things that we can,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
it's super exciting to be involved in a campaign and supporting somebody that we feel very passionate about.
What are some of the topics that you're seeing coming out of the delegates that are like burning issues that they're looking for leadership to help solve?
I don't know what resolutions are at the table. Since I'm not a delegate, I'm not really privy to a lot of that information. But one of the big things that has been a hot topic as of late is California. I don't know if you all
Yeah.
heard
We were
about
just talking
California.
about
We just
Yeah,
talked about
just-
that. Yeah.
Them seceding was kind of a big thing, and it'll probably
Is it official?
no, they're not seceding. Yeah, they are staying in, but I fear that it'll come up again,
Correct.
and other states could take a page
Yeah.
out of what California's doing.
It's
Interesting times.
It is.
For
It
sure.
is very interesting. And I think it speaks to the volume of diversification in all the issues that you see in the industry and kind of what you're experiencing on your podcast as well. You've got all these new dentists and they each have these unique individual challenges
Right.
that they're negotiating in practice. And that's happening throughout the U.S. And the ADA is having to be nimble enough to be responsive to each of those individual needs. And so it creates this challenge, I think,
Yeah, for sure.
for the tripart relationship.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we're seeing is just membership. Membership numbers are kind of low, especially from our group, the dentists.
Yeah.
Well, it's how do you convince the new dentists?
You gotta
that
show the
this-
value,
This
for sure.
is worthwhile.
Yeah, you gotta
And
show the value. And I think that the ADA has recognized that, and they're going to start taking the association in the right direction. But
Yeah.
hopefully quickly.
I hope so too. And I think as we close, I just want to say that we can all sit back and complain about what's going on, or we can look at someone who's been out of school for 5 years, who's definitely a blessing to our profession, that's taking on community health, taking on, the problems with organized dentistry and actually trying to be part of the change. So don't complain. Follow what Tanya's doing. If you're a new dentist, there's other people just like you. Join New Dentist on the Block.
Yeah.
Give their podcast a listen. And Tanya, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for
Really
your time.
appreciate it.
Super,
it was
super
it was
excited to
great
do
having
this,
you.
and-
Thank you for bringing attention to all
for
of
sure,
this
absolutely.
because public health really has I really think we have a long way to go in that
Oh,
arena.
100%.
Not just for dentistry, but medicine
Yeah.
alike. So
Yeah, and if any of your listeners have any questions about those programs, glad to answer
All
any
right.
questions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's do it again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.